I'm here today with an excellent secondary teacher, and in fact, she is a co-author of this module and has a great reputation with students and teachers alike. I haven't observed your classroom, but I'm really excited to talk to you about how you build classroom community. But before we do that, Sherry, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sherry Andersom, and I have taught 25 years in middle school. I teach literacy this year to 8th graders.
Well, thank you so much for, first of all, your help with the module, but also for coming and chatting with me today. So what I'd first like to talk about is, what do you do to build community with your students in your classroom?
I think building community starts the very first day of school.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of little different things. I'm always out in the hall talking to kids. I'm always at the door greeting kids. And then once we're inside the classroom, I really try to set up my room so we are all learners together. It is not like me in charge all the time giving knowledge to students. It's us co-constructing meaning a lot of the time. We work through procedures together. We work through norms together. We set up the classroom environment together. So we really kind of build the classroom to meet our needs together.
Mm-hmm. When you do that with students, do you have like things already in mind, or how do you, I mean, because you probably have some things that you just know you expect and want, right?
Right. And I'm lucky because I'm in a building that does PBIS.
Oh, great.
And
positive behavior,
integrated support.
Okay.
Integrated system. So ours all revolves around the word true. Trust,
Okay.
respect, unite, engage.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we start with that. You know, what does that look like and sound like when you're working with a partner, or when you're working in a small group, or when you come up for demo, or whenever. And then we talk about what that looks like and sounds like, and we model that. And then we practice that. We co-construct rules together, but not all of the rules. The kids always want to always want to create that rule about I can wear my headphones when I'm on the computers, and my building administrator despises that practice. So it brings an interesting point to the classroom where we have a huge discussion around, you know, which rules are you going to choose to follow? This is a rule I'm choosing to enforce because it's not something I'm that invested in, music in the classroom on your own little computer. And then we kind of come to an agreement. So it's interesting to have the kids have that buy-in. And it also helps them start to navigate that world between, you know, childhood, young adolescence to being a grown-up.
And a grown-up a little bit.
So
yeah. So how do your students get to know you in your classroom, and then how do you get to know them?
Well, I'm lucky. I've been in the same building for a while, 9 or 10 years.
You're an institution.
I'm an institution, I think, maybe. So obviously I know kids because I've had their brothers and sisters, but it's also the simple little things. You know, I have pictures up of my family. We talk about my daughter and my dog and my husband when appropriate, and it fits into what we're doing. When I'm actually writing, we talk, you know, we always start with narrative writing. My narrative is always about something that's happened to me, and then they can share their experiences with me. So it's me sharing with the kids, and then the kids sharing with me. And I think as a literacy teacher, you get a much better opportunity to really, really know kids, because they tend to share more deeply when they're writing about things that are important to them.
Right.
And part of the workshop model is kids get to choose what they write about, so they already care about it.
Right.
So it's interesting over the course of the year what I learn about them. I'm also fortunate that I've had the opportunity to loop with some of my students.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing, I think, because then you miss all that beginning of the year, who you are as a learner, stuff you've got to know about kids. I already know that.
Jump right in.
And I can jump right in from pretty much where we left off at the end of last year.
Wow, that's amazing. Are you looping this year?
I am looping this year,
that'll be fun.
I'm so excited. These kids have had me since 6th grade, so we'll see you.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So it's fun to watch that growth from 6th grade to 8th grade, and just like those shared experiences, like as 7th graders, they would tell the new kids about I call it our class history, like things we had done together as a group, or like the day I made a point and I put a hole in the wall, and like funny little stories about how we experienced life together in our classroom, and that becomes part of our classroom lore, our classroom history, and it binds us together.
Yeah. So new students still get welcomed in, though.
Right. They still get welcomed in.
They're not outsiders.
No.
Oh, good.
No one can be an outsider.
That's what we like to hear.
Right.
Well, so how do students know how to behave in your class? Like thinking particularly about a new student.
Honestly, I think the worst thing teachers do is make kids guess about behavior. So I am really upfront with my kids. I'll say, okay, here's what doesn't bug. I don't care about pencils. You need a pencil, go get one off the table. I'm not that teacher. You need a drink of water. I don't care. I'm not that teacher. Here's what teacher I am. If you are tardy, my head will explode.
Right.
And I think it's unfair for me not to tell that to the kids. Just like I expect the kids to tell me, Miss Anderson, I really like you, but it flips me out when you come stand behind me, or gee, Miss Anderson, I don't like this.
Right.
Because it's all about learning style, and when you make those things apparent, then everyone wins.
Right.
No one has to guess about what's appropriate, and then we practice. I practice, they practice, and then we own our behaviors. When I screw up, I own it. When they screw up, they own it, and
you
we just
screw
move
up.
Oh my goodness, yes I do. Yeah, I think it just helps it's what real people do.
Human. Yeah.
Well, and I am, and I do make mistakes, and the kids will say, "Oh, that's not right," and I'll say, "You're right, that's wrong." Or I'll apologize to a kid, look I was really short-tempered with you because I was thinking about X or Y or Z, and I think kids respect that and know that that's how people are, and then it also works the other way.
Right.
When they come in and they're annoyed, they can say to me, I just need a minute because I'm really ticked off about something else.
Right. Well, we all have our buttons.
Right.
And I think for me, when I was a new teacher, I didn't know
what your buttons
they were. So also finding out like that. For instance, what you said about students being tardy being like the end-all, be-all awful thing, we all have those things, and they are going to be different for different teachers. Some teachers don't care if kids are tardy.
Exactly.
They don't, it's not their thing, but they care if they have a pencil.
But the pencil thing
or something like that. So I think helping, what you said is so important, is just really helping students know what your expectations are, and being able to hear the expectations that they have of you as well. I think that was a really nice way to put it.
Right. Well, and I think it comes back to, at the beginning of the year, it's important that your room is pretty, and it's important that you know what you're teaching, but it's also important to know, what your rituals and routines are, or what's going to push your buttons, and kind of really sit back and reflect about what's going to bother you, or how you're going to make your room work logistically, so it works for the kids and it works for you, and everyone gets to learn.
Right. Really, I mean, what I hear you saying too is that everyone matters in the class. You matter as the teacher, but the students matter as well, and so really figuring out how to make sure everyone feels like they matter and have a say and belong. And
I would almost go a step further of, I don't matter more than the kids matter.
I love it.
Because I'm not the fountain that's spewing knowledge on them. We really are a community of learners. I write alongside them, I read alongside them, I guide them, and then sometimes they guide me. When I'm working through, when you're modeling with a difficult text that's difficult for you, and all of a sudden you notice you've shifted from you're doing it to everyone's doing it with you as a we do, because they know you're struggling and they're trying to help you. That's powerful for them.
It sounds like really strong assisted learning for all the learners in the room.
Right.
That's fantastic. So what happens when something goes wrong in your classroom?
Wrong instructionally or behaviorally?
Let's take either or both.
Well, instructionally, when something goes wrong, that's because I've missed something. I've missed where they're at as learners, or I've missed what the point of the text was, or my demo wasn't tight enough, or there's something so that's that reflection piece for me.
Right.
where I had to stop and think, okay.
And after teaching for 25 years, it still happens, right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, the day I stop learning as a teacher is the day I will retire.
I say the same thing.
Because you're always, I'll let you know when I have those perfect days all in a row. So it's about me reflecting and then making changes, even reflecting between classes and tweaking lessons
throughout the day
between classes. Which makes it sometimes difficult to be that first little group in the morning.
Right, you're like, hi, guinea pigs.
Yes. Tweak it a little bit. And then behaviorally, when something goes wrong, it's what's that? Is it Vietnamese saying about when the lettuce doesn't grow, you don't blame the lettuce?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that.
There's a whole thing that goes with it. But basically, if all behavior is communication, which I truly believe, and a kid misbehaves, then they're trying to tell me something. And I have to figure out what they're trying to tell me.
Right.
And obviously there are things in my classroom that are never going to happen. And that's you are immediately going to leave if you're safety of yourself, safety of others.
Right.
But I need to figure out, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you upset about something else? Which happens a lot in my community.
Yeah.
Kids will come in first period or after lunch and something horrible has happened and they're just carrying the weight of the world.
Right.
Or is the work too hard? Or is the work too easy? Or are you frustrated with whatever? So I kind of have to figure out what's going on with the kid. And I tend to give my kids time. If you don't want to talk to me right then take a break. If you want to put your head down, put your head down. If you want to go out in the hall, go out in the hall. It sounds like my classroom is crazy, doesn't it?
No, it sounds like a place I want to hang out. I mean, to me,
put your head down. It's okay. Take a break. But
as a learner, sometimes you need those moments,
So it's just about me trying to figure out why the kid is misbehaving. I hate that word, and then talking them through it, and then me telling them honestly, look at. This is kind of what I need as a learner, and this is what you're doing, and how can we come to a consensus together? Because kids, in their hearts, all kids really want to learn, want to do well, want to be loved by their teachers.
Right.
They all want that same thing. We all do as humans.
Right.
And I think when a kid is being naughty or acting out, there's something else always going on.
Right. Is it hard for you sometimes to not assume that it's a problem with you?
Well, and sometimes it is a problem with me. I mean, because sometimes it's the way I'm either telling them to do something or the way I have treated them that they haven't liked in the past, or they have felt like I've been unfair to them. So sometimes it is an interaction between us, and sometimes it's not. And I think, if your ego is attached to whether or not a 8th grader is going to love you forever, then it's a hard road as a teacher because they kind of sway in the wind.
They do.
So I think it's more about how can I help you feel safe and happy and secure enough to learn in our classroom environment. And
will students tell you when it's you? Or is that maybe a little bit harder to figure out?
It depends. It totally depends on the kid and how long I've known the kid and it takes a longer time for a student to get there.
Right.
I mean, kids are not going to say, Miss Anderson, the instructional method you were using wasn't fitting my needs, but eventually they get to the point where they're like, I didn't get it, so that's why I was talking, or I was struggling with or you're being mean to me, and then you have to dig in and say, okay, how did you feel? What did I do? What was your perception kind of questions. Yeah. Because if you're not I don't want to say happy. If you're not feeling safe, you're never going to learn anything in any classroom. And if you're acting out because you feel like the teacher's being unfair or mean to you, then you don't feel safe. Right. And therefore you're not learning. So until that's fixed, that's what has to be fixed first. Right.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, so do you have any other advice or suggestions or insights around building classroom community or creating an environment where students can take a lot of ownership over their learning?
I think it comes back to knowing what you want, respecting all students and their behaviors as communication, and just being willing to change as you go. Like sometimes I think I wish I could find that first group of kids I taught. Because,
right, and go back and be
say,
like,
oh, I'm so sorry.
I think that all the time.
I'm so sorry for what I did to you. Or specific students where I just completely overreacted to a situation and
we've all been there.
And acted in a way that was not kind towards them. So I think it's take a deep breath. It's not about you usually.
And it's also not about perfection on our behalf, right? And it sounds like from the way you're describing your classroom community that your humanity, both your perfections and imperfections, are what help create a nice environment for them to be both, have weaknesses and strengths.
Right.
So
I never thought of it that way, but I think you're right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I heard from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think like student teachers come in and they think it's going to be, roses and hugs and warm puppies every day. And there are lots of days that are like that, but you also have to
there's some tough days.
Think about the tough days and not let those tough days get under your skin.
Yeah.
Like every day is a fresh day. So if you're going to hold it in and like relive it and relive it and relive it, that's not good for you personally or professionally. And if you're going, it's definitely not good for the kids, because the kids need to come in every day knowing that they start again. No matter what happened the day before. Hi, how are you? Thanks for coming to class. Come on in. Let's learn something together. Yeah. And if you can't let it go from day to day, then teaching's probably not the place for you.
Although it can be hard to get to that place, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. But you can't hold on to
progress.
Well, like 5 days ago you were tardy, and I'm still annoyed about it. You have to let it go.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for your insight, Sherry. It's really wonderful.
Thanks.
And thank you, everyone, for participating in our conversation, and hope you enjoy the rest of the work this week.